Alright folks, once more unto the breach. This being the fourth video of the Basho, I have come to the conclusion that three videos for the Basho is probably correct. So going forward, because I work in education, weekdays are fine to make these videos right now during the summer, but the rest of the year it's going to be a lot tougher. So I am probably going to go with days 3, 7, and 12 next Basho and see how that works. Reason for those is Wednesdays and Sundays are bad. Wednesdays and Sundays being bad takes away days 4, 8, and 11. So trying to do days 3, 7, and 11 doesn't work, but trying to do days 4, 8, and 12 don't work either. So 3, 7, 12, we'll give that a shot. That's for next time though. For now, let's get into this. I am not going to spend a lot of time talking about the Kise guys, just because there's not a lot to talk about. And I also want to spend a little time on Onosato before we get into the Yusho race. So, Ooooh, we'll start with him. This one is pretty straightforward. I mean, he fights, he gets his hand on the belt, but we've been talking about Atami Fuji just learning how to big. Like, he's been big all this time, and he just hasn't seemed to know quite what to do with it. But in reality, I think, looking back, it's not that he didn't know what to do with it, it's that he is starting to perfect it, and now we're seeing how it was flawed before. Like, he was always big, and he always used that to his advantage, but now it's like, oh, this is what he was trying to do. This is where he was trying to get. As for Ooooh, who is obviously supposed to be more of a focus, he did his best. There wasn't really anything he could do in this case. Whatever, we move on. And now that I've fixed the screen so that we can not get in trouble with Abima, I've skipped ahead to the match with Ooooh because this was kind of straightforward. Ooooh can't fight, whatever. So now we got the Yoshino Fuji match, and this one is actually kind of worth talking about. But it goes so fast that I am gonna slow this one down. I am just gonna hold down the frame by frame and let it go. So okay, he goes for the belt, he misses it, fine. They're pushing. Chura gets his hand up on Yoshi's face, but Yoshi's hand was underneath his right arm, so he couldn't really get it down to push at a lower position. But his left hand is under Yoshi's right arm, which is the kind of thing he wants to do. So he keeps pushing. He's blocking Yoshi off. Yoshi gets it going the other direction, which is good for him. But as soon as he does, Chura's got his left hand on Yoshi's right arm. And you can't really see it, but he's blocking off Yoshi's left. Gets that right hand on Yoshi's shoulder. It's going to go under the arm, and that is important. Yoshi goes for the belt. Ooooh pulls up. He kind of kills Yoshi's leverage. There's a good push on the neck. So I promise I watched a lot of Chura's fights, and I really didn't see him do this very often. Maybe I missed it. Maybe there was stuff I didn't notice, but he's been doing this more than I previously saw in this tournament, and this was a really good push. So he forces Yoshi to bring his weight back down. Yoshi loses the belt. It's so hard to see this from the Ooooh's back, but we're figuring it out. Chura blocks Yoshi's right arm. Yoshi is just trying to get back inside, and as he does, Chura is just being stable, and Yoshi is going backwards. So I'm going to actually back this up a few seconds. And so from here, so Yoshi pushes Chura back, and now just watch what happens as Chura mostly defends himself, but presses while not letting Yoshi attack to the best of his ability. Yoshi just is going a half a step at a time backwards. That's what's going on. That's why Chura is making up all that space. And now from here, he tries I don't even think that was an actual pull down attempt. But Yoshi gets things going back in his direction. And now we got that hand under the arm. And that's locked in. That Chura's right hand is locked in. And Yoshi's trying to grab the belt, can't do it because he can't reach past the arm. He's just sliding back. He's looking for anything at this point. Can't get past the arm. Chura's underneath him. Yoshi's getting basically stood up by the Tawara. And he's pulling up on Chura because he's got nothing left to do. He's resisting, he's resisting, he's resisting, and Chura no Umi finally finishes the fight. Boom. I'm not going to go so far as to call that a defensive masterclass, because really it was just a battle, but that is yet another example of how Chura no Umi, he does seem to be getting a little bit more of like attacking pushes, like that, the hands to the face a couple of times. But yeah, his main goal was just to keep Yoshinofuji's attack from landing as much as he could. He still got pushed back sometimes, but he was able to get his hands where he wanted them eventually, turn it around, and Yoshi just couldn't figure out what to do. When high-level wrestlers are attacking, like they know what they want to do. They've got, you know, different angles of attack that they can use. But once option 1 doesn't work, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4 don't work, they get kind of lost. And Chura no Umi counts on that. Once their plans stop working, a lot of times they're like, I don't know what's next. This is one of the things that has made Aonishiki so good, is that bringing Aonishiki in somehow. He's been really good at just adjusting to whatever the situation is. And that's been an enormous boost for him. You see the same thing, like Kirishima will come up with stuff on the fly. Hoshoryu's not that great at it. Like, he's good, but he's not as good as some of these other guys, even though he's a Yokozuna. But Yoshinofuji falls into that much larger group of guys where if he does a few things and it's just not working, he's like, I'm stuck, I'm lost, and he can't quite switch his mind to defense before he's out of the ring. On to Ooooh, and again, there's really only one match that's worth saying anything about. This one, Chura no Umi knocks him back, and then Ooooh just hits his arm, he goes flying. Magic win, okay. Kotsuzakura, Ooooh battering rams him, and then he just gets thrown on his ass. Because Kotsuzakura is really big, and to be honest, if perfect tactics were the thing that won in sumo, these guys would perfect their tactics rather than get all those muscles. Sometimes big strong is just what you need. And now the Roga match. And Ooooh's done really well against Roga in the past. Now, on the post today, I said Roga did a good job pulling up on Ooooh's arm. That was slightly off. So here, you know, Ooooh's coming in. He gets his right arm is getting underneath Roga's left. So to me, it looks like Ooooh pulls up on Roga, which is why Roga is off the ground, but Roga was also pulling on Ooooh's arm. So like their combined tactics wound up moving Roga in the same direction, which is why he's actually airborne for this split second. Once they land, Roga immediately gets the belt. Now, Ooooh got the belt too, but just slightly after. And this is more to Roga's advantage. Now, Ooooh is perfectly good on the belt, but Roga, this is where he wants to be. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's very tight. He's in very tight. Ooooh cannot use his mobility here. Now, I'm gonna go back 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Actually, let's go back a fourth. So you see where Roga's left hand is on the belt. He's got his fingers hooked in, he's got a pretty solid grip. He doesn't have his thumb like over the top of it in this unbelievable grip that sometimes people get, but he's got a good solid hold. And now as things go forward, his fingers are slipping a little bit. His fingers are slipping a little bit. He's like down to the next knuckle. And now he's going to get Ooooh out. But let's back up. So, I want to go a little bit back to here. He definitely does not have as good of a grip on the Mawashi as he did at the start. So, here's a question for the experienced wrestlers in the crowd, because I know there are several, and I am not one of them. How much can you tell if an opponent is losing their grip on your belt? Because in this situation, Roga, he's losing the grip, but Ooooh tries to get away, goes for kind of a not a great pull down, and then Roga's able to force him down. Now, I'm not saying that Ooooh could have kept circling easily if he wanted to. I'm sure he couldn't. But if you can notice that somebody is losing their grip, then in this case, I was thinking, would Ooooh if Ooooh couldn't tell, then maybe he was going for something desperate. But if he could tell, maybe it would have made more sense to try and keep circling around the Tawara until the grip broke and then try to do something to Roga. I don't know. That's something where I would be speculating far too much. This is why I'm asking. If you know, please share in the comments. Moving on to Kinbozan, and this is okay. So he fights Daisei-san, right? And right at the start, because we want big push, he goes right for the belt. Which, now, look, we watch the fight go on, he gets the belt, Daisei-san gets the belt, they both get what they want, because Kinbozan definitely was going for this, and he picks up Daisei-san a little bit, but then at the end, Daisei-san swings him around and gets him out. Now, Kinbozan probably figured he could just overpower Daisei-san in that grapple and get the win, and he was almost correct. But almost is not the same as correct, and he's been so good just knocking people back and then getting their belt. The only reason I can think of to do this, other than, like, I think it'll work, is if he's trying to not do the push every time so that it's not that predictable what he's going to do on the Tachi. But man, if your push is that good, just learn to make it work. Like, make people defend it, figure out what their defense is, and then try to work around what defense might be coming. Because this was not it. I know that might sound like results-oriented thinking, but really, even if he had won, it still would have looked like a tougher victory than he necessarily needed to lean on. Daisei-san is not immovable. I think it would have worked fine, but whatever. It happened. He lost. Okay. Wakamoto Haru, and this is the moment of brain switch off, and I'm not putting that on Kinbozan specifically. We have seen plenty of guys do this over the years. He gets the push. He's walking him back. He thinks it's over. He thinks it's either over or Wakamoto Haru is going to come back at him off the Tawara. And instead, Waka just twists him out. And it's like a little more control, and this doesn't happen. A little more not just running at the guy you have locked in your grasp, and this doesn't happen. Like, that's just, I'm not even saying like I'm an expert wrestler or something. That's physics. That's not even just the wrestling part. That's just physics. And then Shodai, and knowing that Shodai's left elbow is messed up, he pushes with his right hand, and Kinbozan just walks him out. There's nothing to this. Okay. Good job winning something, Kinbozan. All right, talking about Kazuma. The Takarafuji fight is where he fell when he looked like he might have rolled his ankle. And ever since then, he beat Nishiki Fuji, and that was it. He's been on an absolute downslope. He's been just like a boulder rolling down a hill. And I'm not just saying that because of his size. It's just been real bad. So against Fujiryoga, like, and I mentioned this, it looked pre-Basho like a good match. And he's trying, man. He's trying. But Fuji's got so much more juice. Fujiryoga had so much more juice than Kazuma in this fight. And it wasn't even close. But he was working. I'll give that to him. He was working. And yes, I did the days out of order, and we'll pretend that I did that on purpose. But showing the Wakamoto Haru fight from right before it is instructive in how different it is. Because it looks like Wakamoto Haru just knocks him down. But here's what happens. Kazuma goes in, and he's really trying to get that left shoulder forward. Like, you can see his body is tilted so that his left side is coming in a little bit more. It's not huge, but it's there. And then Wakamoto Haru just pulls down, and it's over. So this was a couple of different things. And even if Kazuma's ankle is messed up, that's not necessarily why he lost in this way. We've seen this kind of thing before. If we go speed, he comes in, and then his right foot comes forward. So now he's got an open stance. So he can just fall into this humongous gap if Wakamoto Haru is able to make that happen. And boom, down he goes. And I did say at speed, so let's just show it at speed. Boom, down he goes. That happens. I think his stability is probably also a factor here, but it's not the only thing going on. This was just a confluence of tactics coming together, and Waka's just worked out. And now Asahakuru. So he gets his hands inside, he's in the grapple. Again, I think this is fine. Like, he should be able to do work here. The fact he hasn't been is not the point. So they're already stalled out. He's looking for something. I mean, he's got his hand around the back. This is not too bad for Kazuma. He's fighting, he stays in. Now this is a pretty good position, but look, he's in that position. Asahakuru that's bad for Asahakuru. He should be close to going out. But if we go back, watch how little oomph Kazuma has in this push. So he's got him on the Tawara, and there's just, he's a 450-pound man, and he's got no juice to go for that push out. He's got nothing. And that was where I was like, oh, those feet, those things, somewhere down there in that lower body, he is not okay. Because would it have necessarily gotten Asahakuru out? No, not necessarily. But the fact that he got no effort into it was really the noteworthy thing. And yeah, he tried to push Asahakuru out. In fact, let's back that up a little bit. So here, I believe, yeah, he tries to pick him up and get him going. He doesn't really go very far. You can see by the look on his face, like, this sucks. And it could be because he's tired, it could be because he's frustrated, there's lots of different possibilities. That's why I didn't want to just go off his expression that he's hurt, but everything about what he's doing suggests that he is struggling right now. And then the fight is over. He had good positions, and yet it never really felt like he had a chance. That's where Kazuma's at right now. And that is not a good thing. He's got Mitake Yumi, who is also having some struggles. If he can't win that fight, I don't know who he's supposed to beat the rest of the way. I think there's an excellent chance at that point he finishes 3-12. Yeah, he'll probably be big enough and strong enough to find another win somewhere, but even 5-10 at this point seems unlikely, and who thought that was going to be a thing before the tournament? Anyway, let's talk real quick about Onosato. He's 6-6, he's lost 3 of his last 4. We're going to go through him real fast. We're not going to really break down how he's fought, but just see how bad this has been. So Onishiki, he gets the good push, and then Onishiki grabs the arm, pulls him away, and just manages to scoot away and make Onosato go out, or wait for Onosato to go out and take that win. Daisho, he goes in, he doesn't get a big hit, but then he gets a bigger second hit and then just bodies Daisho out. Daisho can't really do much. He probably should have tried to get out of the way, but he didn't. Okay, that's fine. So this was a couple of not super impressive fights, but he's 6-4. He's not in Yusho contention, but it's not a disaster, whatever. Then comes Atami Fuji. Boom. Atami Fuji absolutely bodies the Yokozuna Onosato. Like, what the hell? I know Atami is getting better at doing big man sumo, but this is a holy shit level of outcome, I guess is what I could call it. Atami just bombing Onosato, and not with his arms, not with a push, but with just body-to-body contact. Onosato was not ready for this. He did not expect this to happen. He figured he could get that body up on Atami and get him moving backwards, I assume. I don't really know what he thought was going to happen, but it sure as hell wasn't that. And then Kirishima, who he had to feel pretty good against because he was 10-0 in the matchup coming in. He gets his right shoulder forward, which is, I am taking as the sign that his left shoulder is bothering him. Kiri seems to realize it. Now, when Onosato first got hurt, but he still was beating guys, everyone was going after that right arm, and then he was just shoving him out with that arm. And a lot of us were like, well, why the hell is he going, or why the hell are his opponents going for the good arm? Shouldn't they go after the bad one? But if you can control the good arm, then you've controlled his only real weapon. So that's what Kiri is doing here. He's still figuring Onosato's left is no good, so he's trying to control the right. He did that in that Basho, I think, when was it, January or something? And then this time, he actually is able to hang onto the arm and pull him out. So that was the idea. He controlled the arm. Onosato never really had a chance. And now let's talk about the upshot of this, because Onosato has to fight Takerufuji on day 13. Could he drop out? Yeah, he could. But now that he's being put up against a Maegashira guy and testing him because he's in contention, to me, that's like, it's going to be a bad look if he drops. And a bad look is a big reason why some guys don't leave tournaments when they probably should. But it's worse than that for Onosato, because he could have the worst record of any Yokozuna in the modern history of sumo. This is not a joke. This here are the two guys who have had anywhere from 8 to 15 losses, and a Kyujo absence does not count as a loss for these purposes. From 1958 till the present, two Yokozuna have finished 7-8. Two in all that time. One in 1989, one in 1999. This is Onokuni's history. September 1989, he was 7-8. He had dropped out of the previous tournament with an injury and also missed the next one with an injury. Then after an 8-7, and in the 7-8 and 8-7, he lost his last 4 matches. So he was doing okay until it all fell apart. Then he missed 4 straight tournaments before coming back for 3 pretty good bashos, then getting hurt and then leaving the sport. So he was near the end of his career. He wasn't completely done, but he was nearing the end. On the other hand, this is Waka Nohana. His 7-8 in September 1999 was his last actual full tournament. He was 7-3, lost his last 5 matches. That was why it ended up so bad. He missed the next 2. He was Kyujo for the next 2, then went 2-4 in the next one and just went in-tie, just retired. So the 2 times this happened to oft-injured Yokozuna who were near the end of the line for their careers. I don't have to shrink the text very much to fit Onosato's entire career on the page. He's 26 years old. He should be in the absolute prime of his career. Yes, he's hurt, and that's going to harm his performance. Okay, I get that. And I also get that, he felt decent coming in and he wanted to give it a shot. It didn't start well. But at this point, with only 3 days to go, something noticeable is probably going to have to happen for him to be able to say, I can't do this anymore, I'm leaving, because otherwise there's a good chance that he drops out of a matchup with serious Yusho implications. Now, he's got Takerufuji, who under normal circumstances I would expect him to blow out, but at the moment I don't really know. The way Takerufuji is fighting, he could get bodied up by Onosato and lose, but certainly he's got a better chance than he usually does. After that, Onosato should have at least one matchup with somebody where it doesn't really matter, where there aren't Yusho implications, but maybe not. They could always change it up and make sure he's always testing a contender. And if that's the case and he keeps getting beat by these guys, he could go 6-9. That's not impossible. Not only that, but even if he goes 7-8 and ties those other 2 guys, I would argue this is the worst Yokozuna Basho in history, because he is not a physical wreck. I mean, I guess his shoulder is a physical wreck, but those guys were just about done. He is not. He should be on the upswing. So this is really a problem based more on a bad decision of entering or staying in the Basho. I think a lot of us feel that way, and I think that is a largely correct take. But man, it is hard to watch this. It is hard to watch somebody who should be a total monster keep getting in the ring when his aura of invincibility isn't just gone, but it's like inverted. It's a pure aura of vulnerability. It's not just, ooh, he's beatable. It's, oh man, if I'm going to beat this guy, I'm going to do it now, because this is the time. In any case, if Kota Sakura wins tonight, I could very easily see the 2 of them fighting on day 14, and Kota Sakura essentially feeding him a win so that he gets his winning record if he wins tonight, or at the very least is 7-7 and has a chance at that winning record on day 15. Anyway, Sumo DB is back up, which is great. So now let's talk Yusho race. So here we've got the odds I've had of everybody winning for each of the videos, and because I want to keep everything very nice and neat, we're going to move that up. Down at the bottom, I have all of the guys who are reasonably left in the competition. Yes, the ones who are at 8 wins are technically not out of contention, but Aonishiki and Kirishima are fighting tonight, so one of them will go to 11, and even if one other person gets to 11, then those two guys are going to fight at some point, which means the ones who are at 8 right now are already out. Or if only the Kirishima Aonishiki winner gets to 11, that person would then have to lose the final 2 matches, and somebody currently 8-4 has to run the table for there to be an 11-4 playoff. So I'm treating everyone with 8 wins as being out of contention. So here are the everybody with 10 wins and then everyone with 9 wins. So let's start with the guys who have 9. Atami Fuji has Hoshoryu, and while normally Hoshoryu would be the favorite, right now it seems like a coin flip at best for Hoshoryu because he has looked absolutely terrible the last few days. Combine that with Atami just being on a roll. Now, Atami being on a roll does not mean he has looked unbeatable. I mean, Kotoeho damn near got him, and he has had to really, really work in a lot of his wins. He's just finished those matches and gotten those wins. So Hoshoryu could absolutely take this match, no question. But if Atami beats Hoshoryu, all of the scheduling that you see here, the first one is obviously who they're fighting on day 13, and then there's my best guess at who they're going to fight from there on forward. Atami and Aonishiki should fight on day 14 regardless of what happens tonight. That looks like an absolute definite. So if Atami is going to take home a Yusho, and we figure from 9-3 he's got to run the table, he's got to beat Hoshoryu and then Aonishiki. And then if Kota Shoho gets to 7-7, they'll probably fight, unless it's Atami Fuji and like one other person from Maegashira, and then they'll probably match up. But the last day is likely to be Kota Shoho or a Maegashira wrestler. And that is going to be a lot more winnable, but he's got to get through Hoshoryu and Aonishiki first. That is a lot. It's certainly possible. He's certainly got the ability, but I'm going to start him at 5% because that is quite an endgame schedule. Kotoeho's got to beat Yoshino Fuji. Now, Yoshi is 3-0 against him, but he was 4-0 against Hirotoumi, and that didn't matter. Yoshi, I think being able to test a contender might actually wake his ass up. I think this, as good as Kotoeho has been, I think this might actually be harder for him than Yoshino Fuji was for Hirotoumi to beat. The upshot is Hirotoumi beating Yoshino Fuji does not make this a walkover for Kotoeho. He might be a slight favorite, but again, I look at this as more of a coin flip than it otherwise would be. But if Kotoeho wins, then depending on results, he's probably either got a match with Takeru Fuji or against someone else in the Sanyaku. If he wins that one, then he's probably got somebody else who's left in the competition, who's left in contention. That is, for a guy who's lost the last 2 days and who's finally starting to look human again, that's a little bit too much. Atami simply has the size, the brawn, what have you. I'm going to put Kotoeho at 5%, and then I'm going to move Atami up a little bit. Because you got to figure at this point, maybe everybody who is still in it is a 5%er at least. Although, now we're going to look at Takayasu. Kota Shoho, very beatable. Kota Shoho has been great the last couple days, but he's very beatable. Then if he gets Shishi, then that's a nice matchup for him too. Shishi is going to be real tough. If they get to this point, that should mean that Shishi and Takayasu are both 11-2. And man, that Shishi sounds hard to deal with. But if anyone can do it, Papa Bear can do it. Otherwise, he probably gets another Sanyaku matchup. That could be like Onosato, who I think he would blow out. It could be Kotozakura, which how that would go might depend a lot on whether Kotozakura wins, because if he's got 8 wins, then the pressure is off. If Atami and Aonishiki, if I'm correct, and I feel pretty sure about that for day 14, then that takes them off the table. I actually like Takayasu against most of the options for day 14. Then, if he wins those, he's got to beat whoever else is still there on day 15. That's probably going to be his toughest match. I am going to put him next to Atami Fuji. I think I think we're already putting too many numbers up on the board though. But right now that's fine. I think he's alongside Atami Fuji, but for different reasons. So now let's look at the 10-win guys. Shishi, he's got Kotozakura. Kotozakura is, if nothing else, even in his current state, grumpy, wanting his 8 wins, and very, very, very strong. Shishi can put him in a position where he wins without too much trouble. Kotozakura could also be put in that position and then throw Shishi directly on his face. If he beats Kotozakura, then he's fought Kotoeho and he's fought Takeru Fuji. Then he's gonna have either Takayasu or somebody from the Sanyaku. And even though Yoshino Fuji and Koto Shoho will still have losing records, they might be the most logical options. Maybe. I think Yoshino Fuji might be the guy, in which case I actually think Shishi's got a decent chance. But against Takayasu or random Sanyaku person, even taking Atami Fuji and Aonishiki off the table, I don't like his chances. And if they break like Hoshoryu Kirishima to do that match, oh man, he is donezo. Like, I think they're going to do Hoshoryu Kirishima because they're going to want Kirishima to fight the Yokozuna. But if they don't and they do Kirishima Shishi instead, yeah, Shishi's done. I'm going to put him with Kotoeho. I don't want to put him behind because that feels sort of insulting given that he beat Kotoeho. And I don't think either of their chances are all that great. But there, we've got Kotoeho, Shishi at 5%, Atami Fuji, Takayasu at 10%. Takeru Fuji, he has looked phenomenal in recent days. He absolutely thunderstomped Asanoyama. The movement, okay, he hanked Takayasu, which doesn't necessarily prove a lot, but his movement was terrific on it. Onosato is just a lot to handle physically. Like, even in this state, he's a lot to move the way Takeru Fuji wants to move somebody. So if he doesn't have push, which he really doesn't, that's a tough fight, but it's winnable. Given how Onosato has looked in recent days, that is winnable. After that, if Kotoeho wins, I think they end up fighting each other, and he's certainly got a good shot at that one. If he gets a random Sanyaku, again, that depends on, does he get Koto Shoho or Yoshino Fuji, or does he end up with somebody who's doing better or at a higher rank? If he can get past Onosato, though, I do like his chances in that second match. The last one, if he gets to... Now, the interesting thing with the 10 and 2 guys is that they can lose one and still be in contention, but they might not be. So if it's down to Takeru Fuji and Kirishima or Aonishiki, obviously that's who he's going to fight. And if they're tied, I don't really like his chances there. Like, he's definitely the underdog in those matches. But if things don't line up quite so neatly, you know, he could get that last match against almost anyone, work his way into a playoff maybe, and then who knows what's going to happen. So Takeru Fuji seems well set up, better set up than Shishi at least, to take advantage of the situation. So I'm going to put him at 15%. And then we got to deal with Aonishiki and Kirishima. So right now we got 5, 10, 20, 30, 35. So we've got 65% to split between these two guys. So we're just going to say 30 and 35%, but who goes where? Well, they haven't fought yet. And that would have made it a whole lot easier. Whoever wins goes ahead. But do I want to cheeseball that and just be like the winner and the loser? No, I don't. They got to fight each other. Who do they fight next? Kirishima should fight Hoshoryu. He should fight Hoshoryu. And again, the way they're going, he should be the favorite. Hoshoryu would probably be a small favorite normally. At the moment, I would give it to Kiri. If that's not what they do, then he's probably got a Maegashira guy, and I definitely like his chances there. Plus, the Sanyaku contenders are Kiri, Atami, and Aonishiki, and after tomorrow, or after day 13, he'll have fought all of them. So if they put him against contenders, it's definitely got to be Maegashira guys. So Kiri looks like he's in a really good spot. Aonishiki fighting Kiri, okay, but then he's got to fight Atami Fuji. And as I've been saying in many of these matchups, Aonishiki definitely a favorite, but Atami is one of the people who was able to scoop under his arms, pick him up, and move him out in a previous tournament, in a recent tournament. Can he get his arms that low? Can he make that happen again? Aonishki's going to make that tough. It's going to be difficult. I think Atami is not the favorite in that fight at all, but I think he's got a better shot than he would have like at the start of the year or in 2025 or any time before that. After that, Aonishiki really doesn't have any matches except against someone from Maegashira. He's set up to fight someone from Maegashira on day 15. The only option to that is if they do a Maegashira match on 14 and then give him Atami on day 15. I don't think that's happening, but it could. Either way, Aonishiki and Kiri definitely have some kind of Maegashira opponent waiting for them in these last 3 days. So it really comes down to, do I like Aonishiki against Atami Fuji or Kirishima against Hoshoryu? And that's treating Aonishiki Kirishima as a 50-50. And the truth is, right now, I think I actually like Kirishima. Like, given that Aonishiki, here's the thing. Kirishima has choked the life out of the last few bashos. So bad. I've mentioned it before. It's worth mentioning again, especially right now that he's tied for the lead again. He doesn't have to like put his head down and try and come back. He is now in the driver's seat. I mean, there's 3 other guys like trapped in the driver's seat with him, but he's there. If he beats Aonishiki, he is the guy to beat. He has to lose this thing. And he's proven that he can do that. All the same, I think under any other circumstances, I would have Aonishiki ahead of Kiri, but the fact that Yokozuna is on the line with a 13-2 record, I think Kirishima is the slight favorite to take the tournament. And I say that because if he beats Aonishiki, I don't think anything stops him from winning the last 2 fights. I don't think it matters who he fights. He could fight Hoshoryu and Onosato at the same time. And it's like, you're never going to have a better shot at Yokozuna, and you know it. If you choke this, you don't deserve it. You got to win. So it's for Aonishiki, it's all about how he can do the last 3 days. And I think for Kiri, it's really about how he does tonight. And with that in mind, I think that makes Kiri the favorite to win the Yusho now. Okay, it's been fun. That's the video. It's been fun. Have a wonderful final 3 days, and I will see you all for the Instant Banzuke on Sunday. Peace.